How's it going, guys? Welcome back to the Pantry DIY channel. In this video, we're going to show you how we changed our pantry from this into this. Alright guys, in this video we're doing a full pantry makeover complete with cabinet doors, new countertops, and wallpaper, and I can't wait to show you how we did it. Now before, our pantry was just very plain. Everything was all white. All the shelves were completely exposed, so you could see everything. You couldn't really tuck anything away in cabinets or anything like that. Now on one hand, it is pretty convenient to have everything just on exposed shelves, easy access. But if you're anything like us, over time your pantry can get pretty messy looking with all the stuff that gets stacked and stored on those shelves. And for my wife, she just really liked the idea of enclosing some of these lower shelves with cabinet doors. We also wanted to upgrade the countertops in here. These were just painted white plywood countertops, very plain looking, very blah. So I'm going to show you how we upgraded those. And then of course we decided to go with this very traditional looking floral pattern on the wall that definitely transforms the look of the room. Now I'm going to get into how we did all this. I did build all the cabinet doors. I did the countertops all myself. My wife did the wallpapering. And I'm going to get in here and show you how we did all of that. But first guys, if you haven't done it yet, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. Hit that notification bell and give us a thumbs up. Now let's get to work. Alright guys, now while I'm working on cabinets, my wife is going to go ahead and start installing this peel and stick vinyl wallpaper. This stuff is pretty easy to apply, and I'll have a link to it in the description below. Now back in the shop, I'm going to start working on the cabinet door components. I'm going to be building these cabinet doors out of MDF. So I'll start by ripping down the panels out of 1/2 inch MDF. I'm also going to be cutting some 2 1/4 inch strips from 3/4 inch MDF. These are going to be for the rails and stiles of the doors. Then I'll take those strips of 3/4 over to the miter saw and cut them down to the length that I need for the rails and stiles. Next, I need to cut a rabbet along the edges of those pieces, and I do that with a 1/2 inch rabbeting bit in my router table. I also need to do the same thing on the ends of each of the rails. Now note the orientation here. You're going to be cutting the rabbet on the opposite face this time, and this will make more sense to you in a minute once you see how this door is constructed. Back at the workbench, I'm ready to start assembling these doors. So I'll lay out the stiles on some parallel clamps and apply wood glue to that rabbet. Then I can drop in the rails. And you can see the way we cut these rabbets, the rails fit perfectly inside of the stiles. And once this is done, it leaves a nice lip for those panels to sit in. Now with the frame of the doors complete, make sure I have a good bead of wood glue on that ledge that we created here, and then I can drop in the panel, and as you can see, it fits perfectly into the frame of the door. Once I have everything roughly put together, I'm going to go ahead and tighten down these clamps. I'm also going to be using some quick clamps to make sure that panel is nice and tight down inside the frame while the glue dries. Now I have a lot of doors to make, so I'm going to follow that same process for all of my cabinet doors. Once that glue has time to set, my doors are complete and I'm ready to start drilling out for the cabinet door hardware. I'm going with concealed hinges on these doors, and I'll be using the Craig concealed hinge jig to drill out the recess for those hinges. Remember, I will have a link to all these tools linked in the description below. While you're doing this, you want to make sure you're thinking about the orientation of your doors and make sure you're drilling the holes for the hardware in the correct locations. I'm also going to drill the hole for the cabinet door knob, so I want to make sure I'm doing that on the opposite side of the door from the hinges. And to make sure I have the proper spacing, I'm using the Craig Cabinet Hardware Jig Pro for this. With that done, I'm going to sand lightly, softening all of the edges and making sure everything is nice and smooth. Once I've done that to all my doors, I'm ready to start painting. So I'm going to start with this Sherwin-Williams cabinet door trim primer. And I'm spraying these doors with the Graco TC Pro cordless paint sprayer. Once all the doors are primed, I'm going to go back and lightly sand with some 320 grit sandpaper before going back and doing my final 2 coats of paint with this Sherwin-Williams cabinet and furniture paint. And if you're curious, the color we went with is kind of a pastel green. It's a Valspar color called Garden Flower. Now once all my doors are painted and I've given them a few days for that paint to cure, I can start installing my cabinet hinges. These are going to be 1/2 inch overlay soft close hinges made for face frame cabinets. Now my doors are complete and I'm ready to start installing them. So I'm going to go ahead and measure and mark the location for each of these doors. The install process is pretty simple. Once you mark the proper location for the hinges, you just align them with the mark on your face frame and screw them in. These hinges are fully adjustable, so if you need to adjust them slightly to get the doors to line up or get the gaps the way you want them, you can do that very easily with just the turn of a screw. I'm going to go ahead and get all of these lower cabinet doors installed. Then I'm ready to start installing the door knobs. This is very simple to do, and I did have a little help for this part. Now with the wallpaper and the cabinet doors done, we're ready to turn our attention to the countertops. For our countertops, we decided to go with butcher block. So I'm going to rip these down to the correct width at the table saw, and then I'll cut them down to length with my track saw. Then I'll sand them to make sure they're nice and smooth, and then start dropping them into place in the pantry. Once I have those countertops in place and lined up correctly, I'm going to fasten them to the cabinet from underneath with pan head screws. Now once these butcher block countertops are installed, you do need to add a finish to them. The finish I chose to go with is this Rubio Monocoat. It's a 2-part oil and sealer, and it's very easy to apply. So once I have that mixed up, I'm just going to pour it directly onto the surface. Then I'll spread it around with a putty knife, and then use a clean, lint-free cloth to work it into the surface. This does come in different colors, and the color I'm using is called Pure. It's basically just a clear, but it does really bring out the grain and really makes the color of this wood pop. Once you're sure you've got good coverage everywhere, you just go back and wipe off the excess and you're done. And my walls were not perfectly straight, so I did have a few small gaps. So an easy way to cover those gaps while also giving this a nice finished look is to add a backsplash. This is the same material as the butcher block, and to attach it I'm just using this heavy duty construction adhesive on the back and then pressing it into place. And that adhesive should get the job done, but you could also go back and throw in a brad nail anywhere you need to and fill those holes later. And with that, our pantry makeover is complete. I love the look of these double cabinet doors at the bottom. And that butcher block countertop looks so much nicer than what we had before. Alright guys, that is it for our pantry makeover. If you have a project like this going on, I hope the video helped you out. If you have any questions, suggestions, or things you would have done different, make sure you let us know in the comments section below. And as always guys, I will have links to all the tools we use in this video linked in the description below. Thanks for watching guys. Please like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.